All right, people, take your seats. We're back at it with another episode. With me, as always, to my left, is a man that has been on not one, but two stops of the Taylor Swift Eras Tour. This man has won more softball bat raffles than anybody in existence, or so he tells his girlfriend. As always, coming at you from the studio, he's wearing a lovely lime green Dennis Rodman shirt this evening. For your pleasure, Professor Adam, everyone.
Thank you. Yeah, I believe that this gentleman on my shirt may have been a lottery pick. I believe he was a lottery pick in the NBA. I don't think he went undrafted. I'm pretty sure he was in the NBA lottery. So
I led you to that. That I knew that, and so that I was just leading
nice,
you to,
yeah.
I was leading you to that transition.
we're doing an episode on something that's near and dear to my heart. I know I've probably influenced Professor Chris poorly on it, but the lottery is something in my life that is different from other people, I think. And I think maybe it's just the way that I approach it. Gambling addiction is very real. And if you do have issues with it, just maybe understand that I'm just talking out of my ass when I say some of this stuff, or tell yourself that if you need help, get it. It's very important. But the lottery is sort of like a bright and shining thing on a sad day.
For me. For me, the lottery, when you presented this, it was an iceberg. I saw the top of it. I saw what I know in my lifetime as the lottery. The Powerball, Mega Millions, Scratchers, all that shit. What I didn't understand is that the lottery in one shape or another has essentially been around since, well, shit. Okay, so you got oldest professions, prostitution. Mm-hmm. Right after prostitution, you have gambling.
Yeah.
Like, there's just something, and the lottery is a gamble. And so as early as man figured out how to get people to do something for a long shot at a prize or an opportunity, there has been the lottery.
I think that throughout life we downplay gambling so much. Like, gambling takes so many forms that you really can't call every one of them gambling, because some of them are just like everyday events. You take a gamble when you do a lot of things.
We just talked about Everest last week. That's like a form of gambling.
Yeah,
you're literally you're gambling your life. Yes.
But lotteries have just always been something that I've really enjoyed, whether it be just like a 50-50 raffle that's happening at school. Anything like that is sort of a lottery type event that will get you fired up and you will enjoy it. Buying a raffle ticket at a car show or anything like that shit is just cool to be like, I could win that GTO up there if I win this raffle. That's just that thought, that dream.
I think what it is, in essence, is you're buying yourself an opportunity to believe something good.
Yeah.
And, you know, how much is a lot of, with the research we were doing, what were they talking about the lottery? Like $1? And it's like, that's fucking cute. A podcast I heard talking about it is like, you know, you spend a couple bucks. I'm like, how what are you fucking buying? So at this point, what do we have? Powerball tickets up to $2, 3 with extra like power play or whatever the fuck it is.
I think a line is
$3.
It's $3 now.
Okay.
See, I've always been more of a Mega Millions player and not
I'm a Powerball.
Yeah. Which
we got it both covered. We have a deal.
Yeah.
And we got it covered. Yeah, let's hope it doesn't have to hit big for us, folk, and we're gonna be blowing this kind of shit out of the water for you guys.
No, a lot of the things that I tell myself, contrary to what the numbers are that I'm going to give you, lottery's 50-50 every time. Either you're going to win or you're not.
The thing is this weird, in a mental way, it allows you to essentially for $9 and 3 shots at all of your dreams coming true. When you buy a lottery ticket, that entire day, at least for the first few hours, is full of nothing but the possibilities that you're going to use that money for.
That's why I said it's a fucked up coping mechanism for me.
No, it is.
Like,
but what
if I'm having a rough day, I'll go buy a Powerball ticket just so I can think about the things that I can do with the money.
That's what I'm saying. It's like, you know that you don't have a fucking shot.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
But what it does is it allows you like a form of escapism, which I know that doesn't sound good psychologically. It's horrible. But no, it's such a weird thing that for something less than a tenner or even $3 if you get one line, it can somehow put your brain into such a mindset that you're just like, oh, we've got this shit in the bag.
It's definitely compensating for something you should be able to think through yourself. But
All right.
like you say, it is just escapism.
Well, let's find out how long this psychological game has been around. Let's roll the dice. Let's scratch our tickets, and let's find out about the lotto.
That's why the board is just plan B. That's exactly why the board's plan B. Because plan A is like work and try to have a normal life of a 9 to 5 and all that shit. Plan B is always the lottery.
This is the plan B. See, usually you don't want plan A to fail. Mm-hmm. You want plan A to fail so badly that you want plan B to have to be not have to be the option. You want plan B to come and get rid of plan A.
You want plan B to strap a pipe bomb to plan A and just completely blow it out of the water. But just as far as lotteries go, I had no idea how far back this shit went.
That's
but
what I'm
it
saying.
makes total sense because humans love to gamble.
It's not just that. It's like we were just talking about. If you have people, for anyone that does not know, for the most part, how the lottery works, I'm going to focus more on like a Powerball type drawing. I don't know there's probably differentiation. I know there's scratch offs. I know there's like numbers type like Keno and that kind of stuff. And those are derived from like Chinese games and all that crazy shit. And then you have like your drawing type lottery, like your Powerball and that kind of stuff. But there's something about like offering somebody, especially like in ancient times, people that didn't have a lot going for them, and basically being like, this gives you a chance. This gives you, like, isn't that worth a little, like a few shillings or whatever they were putting in? And so many people were looking for a better life. Just like today, there's just more fucking people to do it. But they would be like, it's such a little amount for such a shot at such a big amount. Why not? And as soon as someone was able to put those things together, that concept together and say, you know what? I bet we could have a bunch of people pay us money for a shot at a portion of that money, and then we just keep the rest of the money.
There's a word that I'm looking for. I want to say it's called digressive tax.
Do you feel like, because you also then have the government run aspect of it, where you had these ancient civilizations and ancient governments that were basically putting on these lotteries in order to fund public work projects, like we do with taxes and everything now, to build roads and that kind of shit. And so you would take a portion of everyone pooling their money together as part of the lottery. Part of that winning would go to fund whatever public work or whatever it was going to be. And then the remainder of it would be awarded to the winner.
Yeah. And sort of in that vein, rich people don't play the lottery.
No.
Like they're already there.
But they do gamble.
Yeah, they gamble in a way to where they know, and some rich people, that's why in essence, just like going forever back to the Donut King episode, winning the lottery is the American dream.
Do you feel like the way that they differentiate? I can't speak to this as a rich person, so I have to just wonder. Do you think part of it is that with the lottery, it is completely outside of their control? With gambling, most of the time, it is completely outside of their control, but the fact that they get to roll dice, hold cards, make decisions, it gives them essentially semblance of control enough to feel like they can be successful in that.
I almost like you think that they could have a hand in their game of chance.
Correct. Like the reason they don't like the lottery is because they don't get a hand in it. They get a hand essentially in other forms and other, table games, things like that. And so they're like, this is now just on my skill. And my skill has made me rich and successful at this point. So I'm obviously going to win this.
Part of it, I think, is table games, slot machines. We'll talk about the advent of scratch cards in a little while. But it's instant gratification. When you buy a lottery ticket...
It's that dopamine spike.
Yeah, when you buy a lottery ticket, you could be 3 days away from the drawing. So all you have to do is wait.
You're just peeking on... I know, but you're also like if you're thinking about it, you're rising that entire time. And then the fall is just like 3 days later when they do the drawings.
But if you're rich, do you really have that rise? You already have everything.
No, you have spikes. So I think that's what
Yeah.
you're talking about. It's that putting down 10 Gs, 20 Gs on one hand. You're spiking as they're drawing those cards, or as the fucking ball is hitting on the roulette wheel, or as the dice are going ready to slow down. And then it's either spike and then it shoots up and keeps going even further, or it's instantly down.
Yeah.
So you're not having to wait that. It's just an instant spike of euphoria and then disappointment.
And
It's sadism.
Just-
Sadist.
full disclosure, I love gambling. I know that that's not great. I also feel like I have a pretty good handle on it. I don't.
You do. You just have a horrible judgment when it comes to picking racing horses.
Yeah.
How many have you killed up to this point?
Two.
Not indirectly.
Indirectly too.
Indirectly.
Yeah.
Not indirectly.
I got a third. He's still doing well. He just had surgery. Just got off surgery.
That's
he's doing
not
well.
good.
I mean, they said it was relatively minor.
Any surgery for a horse is not good.
All right. But it's something.
Will this be the last one? Promise me that this will be. If this one ends up not making it, will you just promise me no more horses?
Can't win if you don't play, man. That's just how it works.
Pick a greyhound.
The next one
Switch
could always
animals.
be the winner.
Switch animals. Ostrich racing is a thing.
But
All right, so getting back to the actual lotto, let's track this thing back to the start.
yeah, it started, just sort of crazily out of politics. So all it is a lottery is just a form of gambling that involves drawing a number at random for prizes. And in the 6th century BCE, the Athenians, so the Greeks, they used a process called sortition. And they used it to pick like governors and juries. And technically we still use a form of sortition to choose our juries.
Yes.
So sortition would be, there would be a pool of candidates chosen.
So you would have to, I remember this. So you would have to, first, it wasn't just like the public all gets numbers and whoever and all of a sudden Bob the cobbler is now the governor of Athens or the ruler of Athens. It was out of a group of people that were selected and put forth, and then it was a random drawing out of those people.
So you'd interview 500 people, you would cut it down to 100 candidates. Every single one of those candidates would be given a number. There would be a drawing, a random drawing. They would pull out a ball or a slip or something like that. If your number was in there, you got to move on.
A shard of clay.
Uh-huh,
A shard
could be.
of pottery.
So round 2, same thing. They do the interviews and everything again to make sure that they have the best ones. If you pass that, you go into a drawing again, and then for every position that there comes up, your number is drawn. You get that position until all the positions are filled. So it's literally just a lottery for political positions in the Athenian government, which, I mean, I don't know how you would call that really democratic, but I guess in a way it would be so random that
If you're selecting from a pool and the pool is
previously chosen.
and it's an accurate or at least a semi-accurate representation of the variety of citizens that you have, you're then leaving up to chance what representation of what group of citizens is going to get the most. Like you could have a larger collection of citizens that vote all their people in, and you get left with 45% not being represented. In this situation, at least it's all equal up at that point. That's, of course, saying that out of those 100 that initially get picked, there's an accurate variety in there. But it makes everybody have to be ready to kind of step up.
That's why I fucking love
Or
the
not.
word.
You just get some fucking clowns in there.
Yeah. The word chance, though, is just it's the most beautiful word that can have so many synonyms depending on how you're using it. Because chance could be called by God from this random number.
Can I interest
Chance could
you
be
in a
fate.
game of chance?
Yeah, like chance could literally be any driving reason that your number was picked other than just it's completely fucking random and there's no rhyme or reason to it. Like you can lie about that and say that anything is a game of chance or anything is divine. It was a divine choice.
I just see some guy walking into his, what do they call houses in Greece? Villas? And walks in and he's just pissed off and slams down a scroll on it, and his wife appears and she's like, "What's wrong?" And he's like, instead of like how people would be pissed off for jury duty, I got jury duty, he's like, "I'm the fucking governor. I have to be the governor for the next 2 years."
Well, that was sort of the other thing was I think the terms weren't super long. So no matter how much they believed in this whole chance thing, they didn't want those people to be in power by chance for the longest time, just on the off chance that they are shit at their jobs.
That's true.
So you needed that turnover pretty quick. We also see this, again, another thing that's near and dear to my heart, and I'll explain it. 2nd and 3rd century BCE, during the Han Dynasty, there was an early form of kino that left slips that have been found. They're called Pakkapios.
Slips or tablets?
I think they were just like little smaller. I don't think it would have been papyrus. I don't think Chinese people had at that time a form of like paper.
So tablets, little.
Yeah, it would probably have to be tablets.
I'm just trying to envision, are we talking Fred Flintstone type, filling something out like hammer chisel, ting, ting, ting?
I don't know. I mean, based upon what a kino slip looks like, and that's really what it was. It was called the White Pigeon Ticket.
What was the name? Pakapui?
Pakapui, I believe. Or Pakkapiu.
Do you have to stand up and shout it when you win?
It would be fun.
Is that a kino thing? I
Yeah,
just know when I'm walking through Vegas and I see the kino pit, it's like usually 3 people in there.
Oh, dude. So this is what I'm talking about. Kino's one of the best games to play if you're betting on sports games at the same time. Because if you're betting on sports games, they usually put Keno in some casinos right next to the sports book. Mm-hmm. So you can be sitting in the sports book watching all your bets on the TV, but then you can also be throwing $2 and $3 Keno tickets and have the Keno board right up there. So in between watching games, you can just be sitting there and betting on Keno.
You're in such a happy place right now, aren't you?
It's some of the best times of my life have just been spent sitting watching sports and watching bets and just sitting there and having a stack of $1 bills and just running a $2 Keno slip up. You might win, you might not.
Okay, so Keno is a form of lottery then.
Yeah.
So explain essentially, because I'm not super familiar. I know with Keno you have to select, is it 5 to 7 numbers or something? You have to hit them all, or is it?
You can do a max of 7 numbers. I forgot the exact payouts. It's been a minute since I've been able to play. Because we're not in a legal gambling state like that. But it's basically you choose these numbers at random, and then you wait. Balls are drawn, and I think the numbers are 1,
So you want your number to not be picked, but be remaining, correct?
You want your numbers to be picked.
Oh, okay.
So whatever numbers that you black out, if you black out 5, 7, 42, all that kind of stuff, those are the numbers that you want to see come
Okay,
up.
gotcha.
If you get 3 numbers correct, your payout starts. And it can build. You have a Keno jackpot just like you have a lottery jackpot. If you hit all 7 numbers, you get the Keno jackpot.
Okay.
It's just a hell of a lot of fun, and it's a really cheap game. So it's not like you're spending $20 a hand to play it. So you can ride some money pretty decently. And if you do, hit a couple numbers, you'll get a little bit of a payout to where you can just completely recycle it.
All right.
But those were kind of the first recorded signs that they found so far in Asia for gambling. Roman Empire did something very similar. They had these festivals called Saturnalian festivals, named after
Saturn?
Yeah, I think he was a Greek god or a Roman god.
Yeah. Yeah, like the Roman gods were more of like...
They were like rip-offs of Greek gods.
Yes, they just have different names.
But they were held during these special times, these festivals, and outside of the festivals, I think that might be cash. We might have to reload it.
Right.
But outside of festivals,
Ooh, they're getting see how the sausage is made.
they how the sausage is baked, how it's smoked.
Yeah.
During these parties that they would have, every guest that would show up would receive a lottery slip, and they did have enough prizes on hand that it wasn't as much as like the money that they were taking in.
So the house was keeping some.
Yeah, and that's just how the lottery works. But every single one of these people would be guaranteed something. So it's almost like a secret Santa or like a white elephant.
Swag bags.
Sort of.
Everyone's walking out with something.
But when you see like the fancy dinnerware show up and everybody wants that and your number doesn't get drawn and you got to take home like a hay stuffed horse or some shit like that, you're not going to feel as great as the people that took home the silverware set. They also did sort of the same thing. 15th century Italy, you have council members that are chosen at random, sort of the same way that the Athenians worked. And those would be chosen 5 out of 96 people every 6 months. So that's the turnover that they were having, was they were doing it every 6 months. Unfortunately, that wasn't enough to satiate the Italian thirst for gambling. And they started to replace the names that they were betting on would be winning these tickets. So initially when they were drawing for the members of like the board or anything like that, they were just betting on who they thought was going to be drawn. They're like, well, we can't do this, or we can't wait every 6 months. Let's just replace the numbers or the names with numbers. And then let's just start drawing lottery
So they already
balls.
got the itch.
Yeah. They had a little bit.
Oh man, do you guys just love election time?
Could you imagine that if we started at like primaries and put like $100 on your guy? I think we already pretty much know.
We already
Unfortunately,
do primary bingo. Where
Yeah.
like it's like who's gonna say the crazy shit? Who had someone like showing up in a Klan robe?
Our political system's so fucked up. I think we kind of know the winners. But if it was truly like a starting line flat, it would be really fun to bet on candidates and see how far you could take them.
They need to also put candidates through some type of like American Gladiator type challenge so you can see their physical prowess.
Mentally and physically, all the same shit.
So also one thing I kind of saw about like Rome is the lottery was not always a good thing.
No.
So you would get situations like within the Roman legions and everything where if a unit or like I don't know what they considered them, a brigade or a group of soldiers, whatever, would essentially like have situations happen in combat where they would bring dishonor, or they were cowardly or anything like that. Basically, that entire unit had to draw straws. They picked out 10 guys, I think, and they had to draw, and like the short straw would have to get killed by all the other guys in his unit.
Just get pummeled.
Yep, like bludgeoning, like getting bludgeoned to death. So yeah, there were certain lotteries that you did not want any fucking part of. And that would be crazy too. Like, what if you were the guy in that company that was just fucking mowing down people and you had like the most kills out of anyone, and they're just like, well, do you think at that point they're just like, not you, Ramicus. No, you go ahead. Actually, why don't you run over and message someone in the tent, and then we're going to get this thing squared away.
Yeah, well, and you got to think, if you're the top dog that just beat everybody in combat and then you draw the short straw, everybody in your company is thinking you're going to put up a fight, and it probably might not end well for some other guys, so maybe you want to redraw.
That's true.
But like you were talking about earlier, how the house takes a little bit.
He draws the short straw, and he's like, I'd like to draw again. He's like, does anyone have a problem with me drawing again? And everyone's like, mm-mm. This one seems long enough, correct?
Yeah, definitely long enough. When you were talking about the house keeping it, parts of the white pigeon ticket actually went to funding the Great Wall of China.
So they had like a breakaway tablet part?
No, part of the funding that they would bring in using the lotteries
yes,
would go to pay for the construction of the Great Wall of China.
Right.
And so much of this stuff is the state using that money. The Romans, when they would do their lotteries, it was the exact same system. They would use that to fortify the city of Rome and start protecting it. And we just see it sort of coming through every single century. And I want to try to instill this because we are a people, I believe, that just don't like taxes.
No one likes fucking taxes.
But keep that in your head.
Okay.
We don't like paying taxes, but there's a certain thing that happens that I feel like nobody in history is like, fuck, they're getting us. They're tricking us. So, 1566, Queen Elizabeth issued 400,000 tickets at 10 shillings a pop. They were sold for a grand prize of £5,000. And basically,
what's the shilling to pound? Is it like 100? 100 shillings is a pound. I'm just trying to build up in my head what the take would be.
It could be. I want to say that I had it written down somewhere.
Okay, we don't know, but it's going to probably be a pretty sizable amount.
British listeners,
any of our British or English listeners, if you would please comment on this and let us know.
Give us a little help on that.
But that was to rebuild ports and build new ships for the royal fleet.
Yeah, so instead of taxing the people and making them pay for new ships and all that shit, they're just like, hey, we're going to do a lottery where you could take home £5,000.
You're taxing them, but you're doing it in a way where you're just allowing enough to be set aside that it makes everyone ignore what all the other money is being kept.
And I got a brilliant plan that
because no one knows how many people are purchased. Oh, well, there's 400,000 tickets. Never mind. With the other lottery, you technically don't know.
No. Well, they put out the numbers, but in order to figure that shit out in your mind, it's just a very astronomically large number. But £5,000, I'm assuming, could probably change somebody's life in 1566. Like, that's not an unsizable amount of money. And this leads me to an idea that could maybe fix our society.
An unsizable?
Huh?
An unsizable?
Is that
insignificant?
Okay. I feel like those are similar.
Okay.
One of them might be a word, one of them might not be a word.
Hey,
but
always be improving.
I like unsizable better.
Okay.
But these numbers, I think, are enough to probably be worth the squeeze to look the other way on all these new ships and ports that are being built with money.
A lot of new ships, huh?
They don't know where it came from. And to get to us, to get to America's side of things, 1612.
20 shillings in a pound.
How many?
20 shillings.
So 5,000.
Okay, this is too much. Skip it.
Yeah.
Someone comment on
Steiner
it
math
because you
isn't gonna
know
be good on
us
this.
with math.
Bad.
Not good.
We got the Virginia Company of London, and they actually held a lottery to help establish the people of Jamestown.
This is where lottery literally shows how it shaped places.
Yeah.
And it was just like, you know what it reminds me of too is like, do you remember that? I remember like seeing it on as kids. They always played on TNT, Far and Away, the one with Tom Cruise. I think it might have been Nicole Kidman, but where they're young and he has to go and claim the land when they do like, what I feel like is that was a form of lottery too. You had to be like drawn and eligible to be able to go out and do like homesteading or like claim a piece of land.
Another lottery, you were chosen to go out and take this land that you could stake out, but in order to keep that land, you would have to improve it. Mm-hmm. So that sort of became like a way of life.
Do you think it was like a submissible lottery, or they were just like, hey, we're holding a lottery to see who's going to fucking Jamestown? And was it a situation where like, we won the lottery? It was like, fuck, we won the lottery.
I think you could enter it too. I mean, I don't think any of this stuff is mandatory.
Do you think, okay, so you think it's just, we're looking for volunteers to enter this lottery? Okay.
Because it does take time. Like
I feel like there were probably situations where it's just like, yo, we're holding the lottery. Oh, how do we have to enter? Oh, you're entered. Well, what's it for? You're going to settle the new colonies.
I think it was Queen Elizabeth for those 400,000 tickets. It took them like 3 years to sell all of them.
Jesus.
So it was just enough money that they finally...
Do you think... Follow me on this. Do you think the entire time they're selling, they're up to 350K. They've made 10 shillings, per ticket that they've already sold. Are they just already, as soon as they open this thing up, they're just putting that money to rebuilding ports and
Ponzi
ships?
scheming the shit out of it.
That's
and they
exactly
have to build up to 5,000 shillings.
And they built up the 5,000 during at 490K. They're just like, okay, the rest of it, I guess, has to just go to the 5,000.
Yeah,
or they already,
very well could be.
They're like, they haven't done a lot of new ships around. These ports are looking pretty good. When's the lottery drawing again?
Where's all this extra money coming from?
Yeah, no shit.
But lotteries were a huge part of colonial life because all of these different little settlements could hold these lotteries to build infrastructure. So to build roads, to build any sort of like libraries or town halls, anything like that.
I was just going to say something, and I realized that the way I was describing it exactly describes the situation nowadays. I was like, man, can you realize how, like, desperate these people would have to be to just be, like, putting money when it was so scarce into this lottery and everything? And then as I said that, I go, well, I guess it's not any different now.
That's what I'm saying. The lottery has sort of become unchanged, or it's just, it hasn't changed. Like, the whole
it's just technologically evolved.
Yeah. Yeah, we figured out ways to make it safer to do. But to be like, hey, we need to tax you guys extra to build these roads. Everyone's like, fuck you. That's why we're here in America. We don't like taxes. Like, okay. And then 2 days later, some guy pops out. He's like, hey, does everybody want to win 100 pounds?
Hey, we're going to lottery you guys.
Yeah. Like,
we're going to and you see them change. Like, we're going to lottery the shit out of you guys. What's that? Well, it's where you guys give us money and they start getting angry. He's like, but for the chance to win some of the money, they're like, oh, okay, keep going.
Yeah, I like what you're saying now. We didn't like where you were headed. You had us. We're here now. But Jefferson ran lotteries. Washington ran a fairly unsuccessful lottery, but I think, and this is just me not writing things down when I heard them, but I think there's still Washington tickets that you can buy, like lottery tickets with Washington's signature on them.
Is that what have you already looked into buying? Is this what you're going to get?
No, because they're going for like, I want to say it was like $15,000 a pop.
Okay.
I'm not touching a $15,000.
I'm going to get too into the weeds on this, so pull me back out here in a second.
Yeah.
Okay. In colonial America, stuff is kind of centralized, but then also like very spread out for like farms and stuff like that. So it would be, in my mind, very hard to ensure everyone was contributing taxes I'm sure there was a tax system on goods and stuff like that, but as far as like income tax, like things like that, they're maybe harder to keep track of, especially that early on. But with a lottery, you're bringing all those people to the table. They're coming to you. You've discovered a way that by shaving off a portion of your money that you'd be taking in to give out as a prize, you're now not having to do the legwork of going out and collecting. All the collection is coming into you.
And I would assume, I'm not sure because we haven't really talked about the colonies yet, but I'm sure people paid taxes in grain and shit like that.
Yeah,
like this was a monetary thing.
I just think it was more
have.
so in this situation, like it was almost preferable to taxes, it seemed like.
Yeah.
Because like you were pulling in other people in addition to people that were already paying probably taxes in one way or another.
Absolutely. It's just a sort of a...
We've been getting tricked this whole goddamn time.
And that's all that it is. Dartmouth, Princeton, and these are either the whole entire universities or like major parts of them, which technically they built the campuses this way. Dartmouth, Princeton, Columbia, Harvard, Brown, saying a lot of Ivy League shit here. Yale, they were all built or like
I think you just named the entire Ivy. Did you just name the entire Ivy League?
I don't know if Dartmouth is. I think there's a couple others that were maybe missing. But all of that was built from lottery revenue. So we built higher education from lottery money.
Like some of the original like core institutions.
Yeah. So some of the first colleges that were here because of lotteries. It just blows me away, the connections to everything there was. Continental Congress used lotteries to buy firearms for the Revolutionary War. Like they were able to make enough money through lotteries at this time when we're trying to separate ourselves from England. We didn't want to fight England completely, so we're like, hey, do you want to have a lottery? If you have a lottery, maybe we can win this thing. And we'll give you a little bit of money back, but we're going to take everything else that we collect and arm our guys to and liberate us.
So I feel like the comparison to that is also, I'm going to be speaking on something I don't know all that much about, war bonds. So I think the whole point with war bonds is you would buy them, and there had to have been some type of incentive with war bonds. So I'm wondering if when you bought a war bond, after a certain period of time, you could then turn that back in for an additional portion of money on top of what you bought it for.
Hey, it was probably like a CD. They probably had like a 3% return.
Yeah, and that would be what,
after 20 years.
If the patriotism, the war wasn't enough to have you buy these for support, because you could just give money and then, not expect something in return or get it back later. But yeah, I wonder if it was almost something like that, to where it was like, we'll get lotteries for people to pitch and have a small portion that can be like kicked back. But then, yeah, that makes perfect sense in order to go ahead and drum up. Because it sounds a lot better when you're giving something back, but you're really just like, no, we just fucking need your money, and we need to make it look like we're not just taking it from you. Because we're already fighting one war here. We can't be fighting against the populace because we're taxing you guys too much.
Not to mention, war bonds are kind of brilliant, because if you promise them a 3% return on investment in 20 years, either you're going to win the war and be in better shape to be able to pay those back. But if you lose, you're not really in charge of paying anybody
Someone's
back.
using those to light a fire.
Yep. Yeah. So either way. This is when the temperance movement sort of really sets in. By 1859, lotteries were banned in 10 states, and by 1890, everywhere but Delaware and Louisiana were banned. So as religion starts to get in, I'm sure, and this is just my speculation, there's no real fact behind this, but you'd think that the temperance movement probably wouldn't like it because of like sinning and all that kind of stuff, and the sin of lottery. Also, they would probably like some of that money that people are spending in lotteries too, right? Like you
gamble it on God.
Yeah, well, and you don't want your populace to not have enough money to pay into
Tithings
the collection
like
plate.
That. Yeah,
yeah, because of that.
Well, here's the other thing too. Like, so what if at this point, okay, so the lotteries were beneficial from a government standpoint because they were another way, if not an easier way, to basically trick people into paying taxes for stuff. At some point with these states, that are banning these, because again, this seems like a state decision, not a national decision. I wonder
1859, we were states.
So I wonder if states are looking at it like, well, these people are blowing all this money on this lotto when we could just not have to kick back any, and we have a more reliable system of taxing instead of even having to kick anything back. And by keeping an option around for either the lottery or taxes, if there's both those options, people are going to argue and say like, what the fuck was wrong with the lottery? Like we at least had the chance to get something back, where now you guys are just doing the same shit, except we're not getting anything back. If that option was still on the table, of course there would be pressure to push back for a lottery, but if you ban it, then you're taking that option away.
Yeah, there's just nothing that you can do for it. And I think it probably would be a mix of something like that, and then churches just felt that it was a sin. The puritanical nature
But
of
like, what
this...
was the justification? Like, I'm sure, like, did you see any, like, it's a sin? Like, what about it is a sin? You're gambling.
Probably the game of chance and the devilish nature of it. I think that some religions...
Believing in God is a game of chance.
Well, religions probably wouldn't be super pumped if you were playing a dice game and you rolled three sixes.
Really is come on, that's a gamble, right?
What?
Religion. You're rolling the dice.
It's the ultimate gamble.
Yeah, you're rolling the dice that not only is there something, but that also that your something just happens to be beating out everybody else's
correct.
somethings.
Yeah. So we really see kind of a push to the underground, and in true fashion of anything that people really want that gets banned, just like every illicit drug, just like everything that you can think of. Whenever there's a...
What made everyone want to drink? Prohibition.
Yeah.
You're making it naughty. Hey, don't play the lotto. That's bad. And you're like, I just want to fucking lotto even harder now.
Yeah, man. And so much of this stuff went underground. Number games became huge.
That's right. I was about to say that.
Number games were in communities where they would be sending runners out to houses and collecting numbers to bring back, and they would like figure out how to post them incognito in the paper to see who won these numbers.
Yeah, they would do a drawing, like some type of randomized, and I'm doing air quotes because the number games started getting fixed real quick.
Yeah.
But number games, you would basically, because you had to communicate, it was bookies that were running them. So basically, look at it that way. It was when it was illegal.
And crime families.
And there would have to be some type of randomized way to select like which news article or which sports scores were going to be picked for it. So they would be like, okay, these games are assigned these numbers, and then they would figure out which numbers of games, which games they're using, and then they would take the score, the away score, the home, like something like that to randomize the numbers and pick their, and then people would be given the key out and about and being like, here's how we're doing our numbers, who wins, and they would say, look at this article, look at these numbers and everything, and then you would determine if you won or not. Well,
kind of brilliant.
It is kind of brilliant. It's brilliant to give people the illusion that there's going to be a chance in this. Well, what happens when those numbers hit and then you come in and show your ticket and the house or whatever is like, oh, well, we also had someone else's numbers hit or two other guys' numbers hit. And those two guys just happen to be the house. They don't have to prove to you who it is. So now they still might have to pay you.
You're getting a third of your prize.
But you're getting a third of the prize and they're taking 2/3 of it. It seems like I get how like when people are desperate and everything, can you like, it's just like not desperate, but like when they're hankering for this so fucking bad. It was like when
there's no regulation.
Yeah. It's like, well, imagine like how hard people were trying to play sports books and you changing your state of residency and around information just so you could gamble in states that had legal sports books.
It was such a perfect.
I guess what I'm saying is that I could see how people would overlook the easy ways that this could be manipulated in order to try to like take that chance and that rush.
Yeah, I mean, gambling's regulated in most states. It still doesn't mean that the odds will ever be in your favor because these games are so heavily built on figuring out how to swindle you out of your money.
Yeah.
We literally have a game where you bet on a number or you bet on a color and they throw a ball on a wheel that has a million different other options. I think it's like 35 different options, maybe 36 with 37 with the zeros and double zero.
Okay, not colors. So color,
red or black. Red or black,
you're 50-50.
Or green.
So it's not quite 50-50. It's 49-49 and 1.
Yeah. 49-49 and 2.
So that's your best odds calling on that. But like I get what you're saying. With the numbers of roulette, if you're going a number, then yes, it's that against 32
statistically
or 33.
The worst thing that you can gamble on. But these numbers rackets were taken over by crime families and, of course, the big hitters, Chicago, New York, places where these were easily manipulated and taken advantage of where these crime families came from.
Oh, they also use the horse racing system.
That we'll talk about New Hampshire coming up. Okay. New Hampshire's, they tried so hard to figure out how to lay it into the tax laws that they just completely fucked up the way that they did it. So yeah, I guess we can jump right into New Hampshire just from that. Actually, we got to make one stop, 1934. Puerto Rico's like, fuck you guys on the mainland. We're not playing your games. We want the lotto back. So numbers games became popular on the island before the government was like, shit, you guys are doing this stuff without us. We'd like a cut of this. We'll just make it legal in here. We'll have our own Puerto Rican lottery, so that way we can get a cut of what you guys are already doing. Like, we can shut you guys.
They already saw the money.
Yeah.
And they were like, oh shit, it's this much money?
Yeah,
okay,
it's this popular? Well, we'd like a cut of some of that. So 1934, they became the first, I guess you would call it a territory, first government run in the U.S., a lottery. New Hampshire follows in 1964. And
Do you think they were just like, we'll just fucking test it in Puerto Rico?
it's New Hampshire, though, man.
No. But when they did it in 34 in Puerto Rico, that's what I'm saying is like, it's isolated, so people won't really hear that they're doing that. We can kind of keep an eye on it, see how
Can't have people from other states traveling down there just for the lottery.
See how much money we're getting for a kickback, and then we can see if we allow this to get implemented in other states. If we want to like put our federal stamp on it and kind of overrule some of these states to get some of that money.
But New Hampshire is so much. I mean, their shit on their license plate is what, like, live free or die?
Yes, yep.
They're just the most balls to the wall people in the country that don't like this regulation. So I'm sure hearing that it was
New
banned.
Hampshire is like, no. There's 49 states.
Yeah.
And then New Hampshire.
Yep, they sort of have that Texas mentality, except for they're the size of a thumbnail. So it's really hard for them to carry any swagger. But they do what they want, basically, within their own borders. The way that they did this, just crazy fucking lottery, and I can't stress enough how crazy this was you would buy numbers. Your numbers would be assigned to horses in a horse race. But the horses in a horse race were established, or the numbers that you would get were established by the time of the race. So you would all throw your shit in, and they'd be like, okay, we choose the 12:30 race. And then they would draw out the numbers of the people that bought into a horse that was in that race. And then if the horse won out of that race, then those people would be paid.
So how's that different from horse racing? Because they're just betting on a horse.
But you could buy a lottery ticket for like the 12:30 race. And then the 1:30 race is the one that has the lottery winner that could potentially be in that field.
Okay.
So you could buy a horse, or you could buy a lotto ticket that would be attached to a horse that would never be in the running to win.
Oh, okay.
So basically you would find out
so not only you had to hit the time that the lot of the race, so there could be like 5 races. So part of the lotto is just getting the right race.
Exactly.
Then getting the right horse within that race. So it's like it's like a tiered system, like a step system.
And then if that horse won, they would draw out of that pile. So it's like a 3-tiered system.
Okay, gotcha.
And somehow that was able to work into the tax laws that it was like horse racing wasn't illegal, so we could go ahead and
want to make
pay
it happen,
out.
It'll happen.
Yeah, you find a way to do it. It sort of turns into a few states start to legalize. 1974, this guy, whenever you're saying what you're thankful for at Thanksgiving, John Koza created the first scratch-off ticket. And he adopted something that he had learned working in supermarkets and like gas stations, how they would do, I think like Safeway and Albertsons and stuff like that, do like the Monopoly where they would hand out like the tickets for certain things that you buy. And then
it would be like instead of Monopoly, because that's more
McDonald's Monopoly sort of, but
yeah, but I could see stores doing that and being like, this scratch off can give you a discount on this item.
Yeah.
Or on your next purchase, you get 15% off. Like it would be like a drawing, but like store specific, because it's the same principle.
Just that way that it draws people in to play games. Like
Yes.
if you're collecting stamps or anything like that, you get people to really start to get excited about it. So they move into the gambling space. They see that there's starting to be a little bit of stagnation around the lottery just because it takes so fucking long for these drawings to fill to be able to get their chunk of the money and get the prize money like you're talking about with Queen Elizabeth.
Yeah, it's not as probably as fast of a system where they do 2 drawings a week now.
Yeah.
And everything. And the longest time you're waiting is 3 days or 2 days, yeah.
So the beauty of a scratcher would be you could go buy it and you would find out immediately.
You could find out before you're out of the door.
Yep, that immediate dopamine rush. And it just takes over. And the cool thing about these was they were printed on aluminum foil. So it was like a very aesthetically pleasing thing to see. And you could put a little bit of yellow dye on it. Boom, you got a Willy Wonka golden ticket in your hand that could bring you financial success. By that time, the first state that sold one, Massachusetts, and the 8 states that had lotteries immediately adopted these scratchers, and sales for them were 3 times higher than what the lottery was. So it was just that instant gratification that people wanted so much that
It's it's like finding the new drug.
yeah.
It's
Well, it's like crack over cocaine.
That's exactly. Yeah.
It's just that much faster of a hit that you're going to get. And it's so funny to think that you could change just one little thing about it and be like, you really like spending your money on this lottery. You can actually spend less and get a scratcher, but find out the lottery immediately.
Yeah.
So like you can bring your level of depression from losing the lottery to an immediate depression for scratching and not finding.
Yeah, but look at it this way too. So like you buy a lottery ticket and you have to like to get your lottery ticket, you would buy one and then you're like, well, the drawing is going to, I already have one. This one hasn't hit yet. I feel like with the scratchers, you can scratch it. You might go home, but at the same time, you're done with that. It's finite. There's still no chance that you might win. So you're like, well, I could go get another one, and that will give me another chance to win.
Yeah,
so,
it's immediate gratification.
Yeah, you're trying to do it more often probably than the actual lotto.
Well, and how many times do you think somebody hit on a scratcher and then turned around
multiple ones or something?
Yeah. You hit on a scratcher, but then you turn around and turn your scratch ticket winnings into a lotto ticket. Like it feeds itself in that ecosystem. You can keep the money in the lottery pretty easy if you can get people addicted to these.
That's
things.
right. The name was Scientific Games Corp, right?
Yeah. So Scientific Games Corporation was formed by John Koza and a partner, and the first ones that they made, the first scratch tickets, were all manually randomized. So they were doing them by hand, and they were doing them in such large quantities that it would make they would choose who would have a winning, or they would make a ticket a winner themselves. But there were so many that they were selling, you couldn't really fix it to be like, yeah, the winner is going to be this one in this stack or this one in this stack. By the time it gets to the people, nobody knows who the winners are going to be. So it does feel like it's just that way. Yeah. And that Scientific Games actually created the first algorithm for computer randomized numbers too on those tickets. So they've been at the game for a really, really long time. By the 80s, states were just bang, 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 bang. We need this revenue back. For some reason, we got away from this revenue model of taking this money out of lotteries and taxes at the same time. If we bring these lottos back, we're going to be able to start to build our infrastructure up pretty quick.
People are not only they're still going to be paying their taxes, but now they're going to even be paying more because they're going to still pay that money toward having a chance to win something.
Well, part of the purview of them, maybe not the right word for purview, part of the plan for them too, was when they would move into these different states to try to get the lottery legalized, they would do it under the guise of places who wanted to better the society.
Oh yeah, they would always attach it.
So they would attach it to a cause.
Yes, it wouldn't just be
park renovation, shit like that.
They would have something very specific and tangible, like this is all to schools, this is for hospitals, and so the window dressing on that was like, oh well, as long as it's for that.
And part of that would be
the people getting ready to win are like, this is for hookers, this is for cocaine.
And then there's going to be a little bit for education, but we're just going to choose education as what we sell into the guys.
On which cocaine to buy.
But by the mid-'80s, a company called Lotto America forms, and Lotto America becomes the great and powerful Powerball. States realized that if they wanted to go in with other states that were legalized lotteries too, they could jump that jackpot up tenfold if they have 10 other states.
The higher that number
too.
gets, the more tickets get sold. So where you have, that makes perfect sense because you have, let's just say Utah.
Yeah.
You have the Utah lottery.
They don't actually have a lottery. We'll talk about those states.
Oh, they don't?
Nope.
Okay, perfect. The Utah lottery. So Utah lottery, if that's only funded by all the people paying in for Utah, because there's not as many people, the lottery is going to go up much slower. And in that situation, when people are looking at that amount climbing, they're not saying, well, it went from 6 million to 7 million. You're going to get the same people playing at 6 and 7. You're not going to draw anyone else in. But how many times you drive by that fucking billboard and you see, oh my God, it's at 250 million. Why not? I usually don't get them, but for 200, you have those people that they have their lotto principles. But it's I don't get a ticket for anything under 200 million. Okay, well, guess what? By pooling all that money together, that number hits 200 million a lot faster. You're buying it the next week.
Yeah, and that's really the brilliance of Powerball is so many states are online with it. Those numbers can jump rapidly. And when you see shit like the Mega Millions, which is, I think, a demonstrably smaller amount of states that do the
and you
mega.
have no opposition to it because the state governments are saying, okay, well, we're getting our money faster when we're getting more money because the jackpot's going larger, and the federal government's just sitting back being like, yeah, and we're getting more money too. Okay, you partner, everyone just fucking partner up.
Well, and if you're looking at it from that perspective too, a state that draws a winner gets the bulk of that money back in income
And
taxes.
it gives that state additional, like, because like certain states still have their own. Like, does California have their own just all inclusive?
A smaller version.
A smaller
yes.
version. I'm sure Texas might have something that's
Got
just
to.
theirs. But you have these states that wouldn't be getting as much money back. And if you get one of the smaller states and you have larger states around it that are participating,
Yeah.
that state has a chance to get that money from all those larger states.
They can steal California's money. They can steal Texas, anything like that. Yeah. So that sort of brings us up to recent times. These numbers to me are sort of staggering. I didn't realize it was this big, but it does kind of make sense when you see how much a prize pool jumps after a missed number. But Powerball is played weekly by 85 million Americans. 85 million Americans go out there weekly and buy a ticket. And I am so proud to say that I am just but one of those 85 million people. There's 85 million morons.
Yeah, but it's not just, here's the thing. So, first of all, just on the assumption that everyone's buying one line.
Yep.
So now that jumps up 85 million times 3. Motherfuckers, no one's going in there and just making a trip to the gas station in there to buy one line. I'm 3 lines minimum. And so usually I try to keep it under 5.
Yeah.
Or 5 or less. But 3 lines, then you're tripling that even again. And that's just like the minimum most people buy. It's fucking insane.
Yeah, that's what kind of fooled me about the Powerball was when I would go in, I just, same thing every week, walk in, 5 lines of Mega Millions with the Mega Plier on them, and just $15, I hand them the card, they hand it back to me, everything works out really well. And when it was a Powerball...
And you're walking on cloud 9 for the next 2 hours.
Yeah, that instantly, it's like
Every food tastes better. The air seems crisper.
I just went in and bought an antidepressant. It was just that fast. But going in to buy Powerball tickets, because that's the one that's really up right now, like every time I go in, I try to explain it to them, like in the Power Play, is that what it's called?
Yeah.
Like, oh, actually we changed it. It's something else now. I was like, I don't care.
Whatever
Just,
the add-on thingy or whatever you're
the
calling
best
it, just
5
put it
lines
on.
that you
Yes.
can give me. That's what I want. And then the number comes back, and I think Powerball's more expensive now. It's like, fuck, what the hell?
Yeah,
That was
it's
a
like $3
$25
a
ticket?
Yeah.
What just happened? So, yeah, 80, what did I say? It was
181 million Americans play the lottery at least once each year. A lot of repeats.
more than half of the country plays the lottery at least once in a year.
And in 2021, $31.2 billion was collected.
In America. That's just in America. That's more than any, I think, sports franchise makes. That's got to be more than any revenue of any major...
what was it? They said it's larger than the combination of like movie ticket sales and like sports betting and all this kind of like crazy shit like combined.
I think
Just 'cause
sports
it's so
betting's
accessible.
probably eclipsed it since so many states have gone
think so?
live. But yeah, $31 billion in 2021 is just an insane amount of money.
All right, before we go any further, I'm going to take a chance on if I have to go to the bathroom or not.
Okay.
All right. Oh my God, Adam. What is that up in the sky? It's a bird.
It's a plane.
It's socials. Oh my God. It's faster than Instagram.
That's historically high pod on Instagram.
More powerful than X.
It's historically high, historically HI on X.
Able to leap tall threads in a single bound.
Back to historically high pod on Threads.
And, I mean, I guess there's still Gmail, right?
We got that too. That is historically high podcast at gmail.com.
All right, guys, back to the show.
$1.
Hey, I just won the lottery. I did have to pee.
You won the lottery. We took a little break during the pee break and did some scratchers that we brought in because why not when you're doing a lottery episode? Chris, unfortunately, is going to have to wait till his next lottery ticket to potentially win. I pulled off a whopping $5, so I played the lottery for free.
See, but now I'm disappointed.
That's why you got to buy another one. It'll fix that disappointment. A win fixes every loss. I'm 99% sure that I've given more than I've gotten back, but, you know, that's just
You hear
kind of
yourself talking
relationship.
right now, right?
Oh yeah, no, I'm not justifying it. I'm just justifying.
I'm just
my
telling you
stupid
the process of
justifications.
things in which I follow.
So that money that we spent on those lottery tickets, just a breakdown. Every state's a little bit different, but just a general breakdown of where each lotto dollar goes. State governments take about a third of each of the lotto jackpot. For every lottery dollar that's spent, 6 cents goes to the store that it was purchased at. Approximately 10 to 15 cents goes to game administrators, so the people that set it up, printed the tickets, do all that shit. 58 cents goes to the prizes, and then the rest goes to the state for what the intended purpose of the budget was for that lottery money.
Does federal not take any?
I don't think they can because technically they're all state games.
Oh, okay.
So it's not. They might get a shot. This is all to say that this is taken out before the prize is given.
But you understand that they're going to get some of that because when it comes to
Federal
your
income tax or whatever.
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay.
So they'll still catch a little whiff of it. Lottery tickets are always going to be cheaper than big lotteries as far as the money paid out. So they're not getting as much, but just enough. Yeah. The unfortunate bit, too, is that last little bit where the lottos have an intended purpose in the state budget. So, like when we were talking earlier about, like, if people are saying, well, this goes to parks, this goes to education, that's really a banner that they can put on it depending on if 10% of that goes to education or 3% of it goes to education. But that can be earmarked for that, while other things can be earmarked. Like, if you have 20 cents.
This is like that goddamn telemarketers thing.
A little bit.
It goes on, yeah, 90% goes to us and 10% goes to the Fraternal Order of Cancer Patients or the
But you
police
can
or
still
whatever,
say that's what you're calling for.
Yeah.
So, under the guise of states trying to sound better, like I'm not saying that the lotteries are all great. I love the lotteries. I understand if you hate the lotteries. Like I was trying to figure out
At
the
least
word
it's
earlier.
some money going to something.
Yeah.
It's some.
The lotteries are what's considered, I think, just an opinion, but a pretty good opinion, a regressive tax.
Do you know what it is I was thinking about this. It's one of those things that's been around for so long, just operating in the background. It's like an operating system on like your computer. It goes on in the background. You really never notice it or anything like that, but it's like there whenever you want to like access it. Mm-hmm. The lotto is just like that. It seems, we've lived in a place that there's always been the lottery.
Yeah.
Like gambling's not here, but that has always been the form of gambling that's been like normalized and like it's fine. We just don't allow the other type of gambling here, but like it's just always been there. So you never really think about how it got created, how it got invented, like what it stems from, how it was like manipulated and turned into something else. And it's just this thing that just exists. And everything's it's just like, okay.
And it is sort of rough because the lottery is predatory in nature and just sort of based upon what we were talking about earlier. Rich people don't really play the lottery. Mm-hmm. So the bulk of the lottery, the money that's being pushed in there is being pushed by people that don't, they look for the extravagance in life, but people are looking for a quick leg up to pay bills. I mean, there's no shock that like when you see a gas station that's in the middle of a poorer part of town, there's going to be big advertising for scratch tickets. There's going to be a big ass sign out in front that tells you exactly how much.
Yeah, like now that you're saying that, I kind of thinking about it. How many times do you go into like, I don't know, like a nicer grocery store or a nicer gas station in like a more, affluent part of town or whatever? You might see them like in a certain spot or a little like rack of them kind of behind something else. Yeah. The Powerball machine is usually there because whatever. There's not a ton of advertisements. But then you go into like a different part of town, like a lower income part of town, and that's when you get the glass case that's actually right there in front with all of the different games and everything. Yeah, I mean, it giving it just very little thought. It's like, of course it's fucking predatory.
It's geared towards people that are trying to pay bills instead of people that already have the money to do it. And it's really a bummer that that's the way that their advertising works. But what advertisers don't do that? I mean, it's tough to condemn.
I love your defense of the fucking lottery. Like, you're not like, I'm fine with the lottery and like I understand that, like, because here's the thing. I'm playing it I'm not saying I'm in those people's situation, everything like that. I'm very thankful for what I'm in. But what I'm saying is I play it for the same reason of like, I would like to pay my bills and I would like to go do stuff fun with the rest of my life and not have to worry about all the bullshit. And I feel like that's what everyone wants is just not to deal with the bullshit. So that's the same reason. There's just people, once people get to a certain level where the bullshit is not enough in their life, where it's a worry or a concern, they don't think of how to not deal with the bullshit. It's a secondary thought to them.
Yeah, and that's sort of exactly the way that
I'm being predated.
Well, and if you really think about it, I mean, like you say, we are sort of blessed to be in the positions where we can be, where we can go buy a lottery ticket, and that's not going to make or break the bills for the month.
I'm used to predatory tactics. Like, go to fucking Costco. They're putting all those fucking snacks and shit right up there by the registers. Come on.
At the same time, I mean, technically, we're still playing the lottery for the breathing room to be able to do the things that we love.
The possibility of what we consider a better life.
Yeah,
yes.
And people that already have that breathing room don't have that drive and desire to do it, so they're less likely to play.
Yes.
It is unfortunate, and it's just sort of something that I've accepted, but I kind of accept a lot of unfortunate things, I think, sometimes. It brings me a little joy. If it brings you joy and you can do it legally and you can do it in a manner that doesn't affect you so much,
so much.
Maybe play it. But not everybody
you are out here fucking hawking for big law. Are you getting a kickback?
God, I wish that was a sponsor.
How much did you actually spend on these scratchers? I feel like these are some type of like.
You think it was free? You think they gave them to me to try to?
Yeah,
sell
you're
me?
trying to fucking set the hook in me.
I'm not going to tell you where I got them.
If anything, I think you mixed up the tickets because setting the hook in me would have been the $5 one.
Fuck that up.
Well, I'm fucking on to you.
Not everybody in America has that chance. Alabama, Alaska, Hawaii, Nevada, and Utah all don't have state lotteries. Some of those make sense. I mean,
Nevada's insanely surprising, but it makes sense. We have designated places where we want you to give us your money.
Well, and almost that, but at the same time, the gambling money is still going to be taxed by the state from the casinos, yeah? Like, that's just going to happen.
I guess.
Why would you want to open up the state to be able to take chunks of the money that they're already going to be taking a portion away from you?
Yeah, and here's the other thing, too, is there's probably a lot more to it, but just on the simple chance that, like, you allow it to be played in Nevada, and you could have a winner every now and then takes that revenue from all those other states.
Mm-hmm.
Or vice versa, you're having to pitch in and you're losing that. I guess the chance they're playing the house rules. They're saying there's not enough of an odd that we're going to get that money back.
Well, they just want to be the only game in town.
Yes.
That's just the way that the gambling works.
Is that your one gripe about Nevada is you're like, they won't permit my precious lottery?
No, man, I love it. They have enough other options to where I can get that instant gratification instead. That's part of the reason why I like the lottery.
Cocaine.
Yeah. I have to wait for the lottery because that's the only game in town. If I had more game in town, I probably wouldn't play the lottery as much.
That's true.
But other states, it makes sense. Alabama, Bible Belt, that's going to be a place where gambling is probably something that's frowned upon. Mm-hmm. Utah in the same vein with being LDS or whatever they want to call themselves these days, being Mormon, you're just not allowed to do it. So any sort of push like that, Hawaii kind of makes sense. You're at a place that's already pretty expensive as is, but at the same time, you can't really partner up with anybody close that's going to be like interstate travel.
Do your own lottery, Hawaii.
Oh, yeah. Alaska, I don't really understand Alaska. I think
probably
there's
not enough people.
Some legislation. Yeah, it could be. That actually probably is pretty accurate. Chances of winning the lottery, and this one's going to hurt. I said 50-50 earlier, and that's what I tell myself and what I truly believe.
We're just watching the stages of gambling and lottery addiction just present themselves at different times.
They're just leeching in. Mm-hmm. But 1 in 292 million.
1 in 292 million.
I think I've heard you have a better chance of being struck by lightning. You have a better chance of falling out of bed and dying. But at the same time, you also have a chance to win because there's still that 1 in that 292 million.
You just sound like Lloyd Christmas. So you're saying there's a
chance. There's a definite chance. Over 100 countries have some form of governmental lottery. Even in communist countries. I was absolutely shocked to find out that Chinese has the China Welfare Lottery.
That China.
Yeah, dude, China has a lottery.
Chinese has the... China has
okay, I meant, yeah.
Yes, that...
Maybe, agree to what you said. But it's just shit like that. Like even communist countries
But
understand.
it allows a psychological release
Yeah.
of like a freedom of doing this. We have this. Yeah.
And China definitely
I
has
think
to have a
that's
murder
definitely, I'm not
lottery.
going to lie to you. I think that that's definitely something that's been thought of what the like psychological benefit that can be provided by that. Yeah.
The only thing that communism and capitalism can shake hands on is lotteries.
Yeah. Yeah.
The
Is
largest.
taking money from people is what it is.
Still, yeah. Yeah, I guess they
Tricking
still
people
win.
into giving you their money. It's like the handshake between like communism and capitalism.
The handshakes are just going in the public's pockets.
Mm-hmm.
But the annual Spanish Christmas lottery sounds very, very cool. It's actually the largest prize pool of any lottery ever. It's 2.4 billion euros, over 2.5 billion dollars in prizes for the Spanish Christmas lottery, or Spanish, Christmas lottery. It happens every single year. So that's like a part of the holiday season is being able to have,
Who's eligible?
I think, just anybody in Spain.
Wait. So it's a national lottery.
Yeah.
In which they already have everyone's information.
Uh-huh.
And they do a randomized drawing. And it's multiple prizes, right?
Yeah, I'm sure that you still buy tickets. I don't think it's for everybody, but it's like a part of the
that
Christmas.
would be so fucking. That'd be the coolest fucking country ever. They're like, we take a portion of like they don't even give people a chance. They're like, we do tax you a little bit extra, and then we do this lottery where 1,000 winners win. That'd be fucking cool.
You're sniffing my ultimate idea for how to fix the way that people look at taxes in our country.
Is that?
Yeah, we'll get to that.
Okay.
But this is where we get a little of the propaganda. I hate to call the National Endowment for Financial Education propaganda, but they say that about 70% of lottery winners go broke within the first few years of winning.
Okay. I get that that's and that's probably an accurate statistic.
Ish.
Okay. But at the same time, why do they think that that's going to deter anyone that's like, oh man, I'm going to go broke within a few years? Or I can just go broke now.
Or I can either be broke or go broke.
No shit. And I still have a 30% chance of not going broke if I win. Okay, fuck it. I'm still going to play.
You hit 30% of the balls that you swing at in baseball, you're a Hall of Famer.
Mm-hmm.
Like, it's just that simple. So it's a little bit unfortunate. It leads to some pretty kind of dire and sad situations. This guy named James Hayes was.
Now, are these are cautionary tales? Is that what are we getting into?
Yeah, I would say just hard luck, not cautionary tales. Because, like I say, every one of these has weird little things.
Wait, hard luck? I think
Hard
these
luck.
are also some cautionary tales. I listened to some of the same shit you did. Cautionary tales.
Look.
Listen, you are sitting here trying to fucking paint this thing with fucking rose-colored paint the entire time. It's people that won and were dumb with their fucking money. I'm not bad-mouthing the lottery. These people were just not responsible.
I don't want to keep coming to its defense. I just have to say that
You're going to.
I'm not-
You walk in front of it.
I'm trying to get out in front of it. But all of these people just had unfortunate, and I'm not saying it was all their fault because some of this stuff could definitely
what
be
we'll do?
just predetermined.
We're going to play a little game inside this. We're going to play a game called Bad Luck or Cautionary Tale. You're going to tell me about the situation and I'll make my verdict.
Let's play bad luck, cautionary tale, or unfortunate predisposition.
Okay.
So, James Hayes, 1998, he was a security guard, pulls $19 million off the California Super Lotto. Hell of a win. He ends up taking home $13.7 million after taxes and all that. Unfortunately, his ex-wife was very angry at him, and during the divorce, she took half of that $13.7 million. Now, they took the option, when you win lottery, I think some states force you to take one or the other, but you can either get paid in an annuity payment or you can get paid in a lump sum.
So annuity is you get a yearly amount.
Yep, for like 20 years for a certain, maturity of the...
And you get more overall with the annuity than you do with the lump sum, correct?
Oh, no, my friend.
Oh, you don't?
Because of our great buddy inflation.
Oh, okay.
So as you space that money out over time, if you were to get an $800,000 payment that would be worth $800,000 this year.
But you do get technically more, but because of inflation, it doesn't go as far.
Yeah, so if in year 15, if you're still getting that $800,000, it might only be worth $750,000.
Okay.
I think lump sum, you get taxed out more just because it puts you in a different tax bracket depending on how much you win. But I would always take the lump sum. I don't feel like the annuity would be as fun just because the lump sum I feel like I can turn into more faster than just living on like a fixed annuity income.
You'd have a hard time living on that $684,000 a year.
Well,
I feel like, okay, here's my...
So if you have $5 million to invest or $500,000 to invest, what are you going to make more money on?
Yeah, okay. But here's the thing. How many of these situations have have investment in them?
Okay. I'm just talking about
I feel like
here.
the annuity to some people would be like a form of like control that is sorely needed. But please go on with Mr. Hayes.
Yeah, so after these annuity payments that he took, he had a bit of a car addiction. He started to really enjoy gambling, and he developed about $1,000 a week heroin habit. And this is where I'd like to put my first point in: predisposed. Because drug habits usually don't form after you get money. I mean, they might.
I'm sticking with my two options. It's either cautionary tale or it's bad luck, so proceed.
All right. Okay, first predisposition. Angry ex-wife. Bad sign, right?
Keep going.
Okay. All right. 0 for 2 on those. Shit just got really, really weird for him. He ended up $2 million in the hole after just all of these gambling problems, car addictions, heroin habits, everything like that. 2007, he files for bankruptcy. He really has no income after that, so he ends up moving to an apartment complex that he becomes the manager of. Some guy tortures their apartment complex, so not only taking away his job, but also taking away the place that he lives. So you lose kind of everything all at once. He really, really needed some money, so he decided that if he can't win the lottery again, he's going to go force banks to give him money by using a gun.
Call it what it is. Read the word you have written up there. You're using your justification voice.
I don't think so.
The way, yes, you are. Because I'll read it one way and you write another. So in 2018, he pled guilty to 4 counts of robbery for 33 months in prison. That's what you have written down. You're over here like, and then, I mean, in 2018, he really needed money, and
he only pleaded to 4 counts, though. He only robbed 4 banks.
You're trying to sway me. Listen, this is a cautionary tale. The only smattering of bad luck was the apartment complex getting torched.
Angry ex-wife?
No, I'm sorry, man.
Whose fault would that be? She was already mad before. He won.
Yeah, he probably did something. Listen,
That's bad luck.
No, I'm sorry. This is a cautionary tale.
Okay.
Okay.
So yeah, he did 33 months in prison, and he had to pay $40,000 in restitution. So he didn't even get away with that much money. That's like $10,000 per count of bank robbery. That's not that much.
The real crime here is blowing through all the money he had.
Yeah, to blow through half. Well, and that's the issue, was when you get an annuity payment and you stretch that annuity past what you're going to get before that year's up and you get the next payment. Then by the time you get to that next annuity payment, you're paying down the debt that you had accrued until you got to the next one.
Cautionary tale.
Okay. All right, you might have a point. We're going to leave.
Damn, did I just talk myself into that?
We're going to jump countries. We're going to head
across the pond?
over. Yeah, a British waste removal professional, garbage man. Michael Carroll was 19 years old when he won $14.4 million in 2002. Can you imagine winning $14 million at 19?
I'm going to tell you right now, this one already has bad luck on it for the time that he actually won it.
Okay, so not a cautionary tale?
Hold on. I haven't gotten far down into the weeds yet, but I'm telling you right now that I can put myself in this position at 19 years old, and anything you're going to tell me going forward is probably not going to be that surprising.
Yeah, no, not at all. Moved into a mansion, and he really...
First order of business.
Yeah, you got a place to live. You don't think about property taxes and upkeep and all that sort of shit when you move into a big house. Like, that's going to be more of an issue. After that, he developed just a real penchant for gold jewelry. He really, really liked gold. And
I don't understand that.
If you're rocking gold jewelry, you're looking flashy, you're probably going to parties, you start really getting heavy into drugs and alcohol.
Okay, I'm back.
That in turn is going to take you to prison a few times. And as you're in prison, he ended up losing out on all that $14.4 million within 10 years. 10 years. So he had a ride from 19 to 29 that saw him piss away $14 million. You're blowing more than
And not even that whole time because he was in prison.
Yeah,
Like,
so-
how far can that money go to make your prison stay?
Well, and I don't know if automatic bill pay was going on then, but every month that he was in prison, he was missing payments. It was just taking more and more money. So, yeah.
And who's to say who else had access to that money, too? I mean, yeah.
So he ended up, he's a coal delivery driver now. He got sober. He's clean off of the drugs and alcohol.
Cautionary tale with a positive ending.
He said that he's very happy with his life right now. I believe he has a daughter, and I don't know when this last check-in was that I read about, but he
He's
seems
like,
to
I'm
be
very happy with my life, and I have to tell myself that so often.
And not many people, I think, could live through pissing away $14 million to see the other side of that.
Yeah, a lot of people that lost that money take jumps out their office windows. Yeah.
Very
So
similar.
good for
yeah.
him. Yeah.
Our next fella, William Bud Post. This guy, he was special. $16.2
We're
million.
coming back across the pond.
Yeah, back in America.
Okay.
Pennsylvania lottery in 1988. Much like our buddy.
Man, 16.2 in 88.
Yeah, that's a lot of money in 88. Much like our British friend Michael, he moved himself into a mansion.
As one does.
Next move, I don't really want to talk about it because it's going to lean more towards your way. He bought himself a plane, which, cool. Doesn't have a pilot's license. So he just bought himself
We're hard into cautionary tale territory right now.
a large paperweight. Helped his family out. He provided some money for some family businesses.
Everyone's going to have to do that. Everyone, that's what you hear from everyone that loses the money. It's always that.
Well, take this part with a grain of salt about the family businesses because we're going to swing back around to his family. His ex-girlfriend, who also happened to be his landlady, ended up suing him
Is this a Roy Munson
Could have been.
kingpin situation?
Could have been very similar to that situation. She ended up winning a third of his money winning, so a third of that $16.2 million. Bud told them to fuck right off, and as he told them to do that, the judge just froze all of his assets for not paying the money. So instead of paying off a third of it, you just lost everything
I
because
feel
of
like
that.
we're doing a lot of cautionary check boxes here.
Yeah. To talk about the family problems, there was apparently a falling out after this where his brother actually hired a hitman to try to kill him, and I believe it was like his fifth wife. So he was running through women pretty quick. Predisposition, not because of the money. That was something that he was probably going to have that many wives regardless.
It's
of
still
the
not
money.
we're still not skewing
All
it.
right. Maybe this part will help. He actually lived through the assassination. Him and his wife did. I'm sure his brother got locked up for it. He was forced to sell everything just to try to make all the money back that he had spent, especially while his assets were frozen and he was racking up debt. He went back to jail for shooting at a repo man that came to take his car back.
When did he go to jail the first time? When the judge froze his assets for?
I'm sure
gotcha.
it had
Okay.
something to do with that, because if you're just not going to pay out that much money,
You mean you can't tell a judge to fuck off and they're not being
Shocking.
repercussions?
Shocking, yeah. He tried to shoot a repo man that was coming to take his car back because he didn't pay his note on it. So you could see maybe that wasn't a predisposition. That might have just been a desperate move. He ends up dying while living on Social Security for disability at 66.
We have fallen down the cautionary crevasse.
But this is not what not making it to the other side looks like. We got to finish off with possibly it was the definite largest known or found out lottery scam to ever happen in the United States. And that was the 2010 Hot Lotto. Hot Lotto is 5 numbers that are chosen between balls 1 and 39. And then there's the final Hot Lotto ball 1 through 19.
So Powerball.
Powerball, in essence, just a smaller version of it, more of like a centralized sort of like Midwest.
Oh, this is a
Grouping
smaller
of
version
states.
of the. Okay, I thought you meant Powerball.
Oh,
smaller
no,
version.
yeah.
Yep,
Hot
gotcha.
Lotto, it's not around anymore.
I like that name though. Like, oh, do you want to go play Powerball? You want to play Hot Lotto?
Yeah, see what the hot ball hits?
Hot Lotto.
Sounds kinda cool.
Hot Lotto coming out.
You can see how it works to bring people in. This is a scam story. So we're going to go on a real wild ride here.
Okay.
The winning ticket's drawn for $16.5 million in Des Moines, Iowa, which is odd because Des Moines, Iowa is the home base of the Hot Lotto
You
headquarters.
just say it like it's the home base of the Hot Lotto.
Hot Lotto.
There you go.
It was purchased a few days before New Year's in 2010.
So is Des Moines is where it's based, but is Hot Lotto just Iowa Lotto?
No, it's like a Midwest breadbasket of states.
Okay, gotcha.
That pays into it, but the home headquarters for the Hot Lotto lottery is in Des Moines.
Gotcha.
Interesting that would hit. Not that interesting because they sell tickets everywhere like that. You have 1 year to claim your prize for the Hot Lotto. If you don't claim that prize for the Hot Lotto, it just gets refunded back to the states. So they don't hear shit until November 9th, 2011. All they have is a video that
They knew where it was sold.
the video where it was sold. The only people that have seen it were like the head of Hot Lotto, like the administration, and then a few of his guys. So nobody else has seen it yet. Nobody knows what this guy looks like. All they have is a picture of this guy. And unfortunately enough, this will come back in the stories. I think they had like 2,500 of these gas stations. Only three of the gas stations had audio that went along with their video.
Was this one of them?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yep.
The plot thickens.
Talk about the most unlucky thing that you could ever have happen. So we get to November 9th, 2011. A guy named Philip Johnston calls from Quebec City. He's a lawyer, and he claims that he has the ticket.
Quebec City in
Canada.
Oh, okay.
So a man may have crossed the border
I
to make it
wasn't
happen.
sure if it was one like, Saskatchewan, Nevada.
It's got to be, Quebec City, Quebec.
Okay.
But as he's up there, he says, I won the lottery. I have the ticket in my hand. They have all these different checkpoints of security. Of course. You can imagine going from the end, like right before New Year's, I want to say it was the 28th of December in 2010, all the way to November 9th. There's been a bunch of people calling in trying to claim this prize and saying, well, I forgot the ticket. I don't have this. The most important part of it is there's a serial number on the back. And if you can give them the serial number, it proves that you have the ticket because you'd be the only person with the serial number. So this guy, Philip Johnston, calls down, gives them the serial number. They're like, holy shit, this is great. You won. They're
probably not great. They're probably like, fuck.
Well, they were either going to have to pay it out or they were going to have to refund the states that gave into the jackpot.
Yeah, but then they get to also bump the jackpot up more and make more money and stuff. So
yeah, or you just start over.
Oh, that's true.
It's either or. But
it had probably been won a couple times since then.
Yeah,
it's just this jackpot happened to be unclaimed. Okay.
This jackpot was just kind of in limbo. So they asked Philip Johnston a few more questions. Some stuff kind of starts to get odd because Philip tells them that he's sort of old and decrepit and can't really get around too much anymore. So he wants to go ahead and send them the signed ticket, and then they'll just go ahead and send him the $16 million up to Quebec City. They're like,
putting a lot of faith in whatever delivery service that you're using.
Yeah.
There.
Well, in Iowa, you have to be present and you have to publicly get the money. So you can't remain anonymous. So you would have to be there to claim your prize. Yeah.
That sucks.
Very much so. And that was something that we left out.
Congratulations. You're going to go through hell now.
Some states, you have to declare publicly who wins. Other states, for a price, you can remain anonymous. And it's usually not a small sum of your winnings to remain anonymous.
Would you?
It's not an option where we live. But if they had the anonymity and it was like a 10% tax on it.
It's disclosed here?
Huh?
They have to
disclose here.
Oh, man.
So if I lived in a state like that and it was like 10 or 15%, I'd absolutely stay anonymous. That money is so worth it to be able just to keep it under the radar. But in Des Moines, that wasn't an option. So Philip says, really can't do that, but I really like that money. Just as they were questioning him, they go, so you came down here and bought this, right? And he goes, yeah. And they go, just by chance, what were you wearing? And he goes, I was wearing my pinstripe jacket and a pair of blue pants, whatever it was. And they go back and look at the video. Dude's wearing a black hoodie and black jeans. So clearly can't be him. They go back to him. They tell him that. He's like, okay, well, maybe I didn't have it. I rescind my saying that I had the ticket. And that seems very weird. So they kind of put a pin in that.
Wasn't expecting that question.
Yeah. So he calls back again with another guy from New York, another lawyer from New York.
The same guy?
Yeah, Philip. And he says, wasn't me. This lawyer in New York is actually representing the anonymous winner. He actually has the ticket. We can send you proof of it. So that way we'll be able to go ahead and get it. We want the money to be paid out to a shell corporation in Belize.
Of course.
Again.
This is all standard lottery stuff.
Yeah.
You don't win the lottery and not automatically go to your corporate lawyer to transfer the funds into your shell corporation in a Central American country.
Mm-hmm. It just doesn't really work that way. So they shut it down again. December 29th, we're right there. We're a day or so after.
2 hours,
actually, it would have been purchased December 29th. Yeah, because it was 2 hours before the deadline. That same New York attorney, Crawford Shaw, shows up with the ticket to say that it was his. But he also was still trying to get paid out through the shell corporation, saying that the person that actually hired him still wants to stay anonymous. They're like, no, dude, we told you this on the phone. We told you this the last time this happened. We're just not going to let this happen. And so Shaw's like, fine, withdraw. I don't want to be a part of it. I don't want it to be anywhere inside me, anything like that. Just take me out of this. So after that, all the money that was drawn up for that grand prize was all given back. And since there was some question about potentially scamming or all that, they actually refunded.
Because a winning ticket had been sold.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But they went as far back with it to refund the actual ticket payers. So the people that bought the lotto tickets got their money back from when they still had their slips.
That's pretty nuts. The fact that, that's nuts, but so there was someone out there that never cashed in a $16.5 million lotto ticket.
Oh, buddy. We're not done yet.
Oh, there's more to this.
Oh, yeah.
I thought the time was up.
Oh, no. Time is not up. The fourth board has made a return. So, Johnston, the original guy from Quebec City.
He's coming out of the locker room.
The Iowa Division of Criminal Investigations, this shit seems really weird. We kind of need to get to the bottom of this. So they worked with the Quebec City police, ended up securing an interview with Johnston, and they're like, hey, man, what the fuck happened here? What's going on? He goes, actually, to be completely honest with you.
I see this as they go, they're at the lotto office. And it's the Iowa Division of Criminal, but it's the Lotto Division, and these guys never get work. And they just break in, and it's just this guy, and he's sitting behind his desk, and he's just playing solitaire, and they're like, hey, Robinson, you're getting called up. And he's like, what? And he's like, there's a lotto emergency, apparently. He's like, what? He's like, it's been 6 years.
He blows the dust off his briefcase.
Yeah, exactly. It's my time.
He has to go out and try to start up the official lottery investigations Ford Focus to get there, and the battery's dead because he hasn't turned it on in so long. So once they put the screws to Johnston, he really started to feel the pressure because they were talking about conspiracy shit
Fraud
on him.
stuff like that.
Yeah. He ended up giving the name of a lawyer down in Texas who said that they had actually represented that client. He said that the lawyer had told him that the man who had actually tried to claim the ticket's name was Robert Rhodes. Now, nobody fucking knows who Robert Rhodes is. With kind of having a dead lead with him, 2014, we're right up to the final months of when the the statute of limitations.
When you're last able to make a push to try to claim it.
Yeah, a scam plea. So really with nothing left to help them out, they just throw the tape out. They just put the tape out to the public, and this is where we start to see the issue with the fact that one of those 3 gas stations that had audio along with their video comes into play. Because when they send that out to the masses, they actually get a call from a Hot Lotto employee. That Hot Lotto employee says, hey, that sounds like a guy named Eddie Tipton. Eddie Raymond Tipton is also the director of information security at the Multi-State Lottery Association. This guy is in charge of the computer that sets the algorithm by which the numbers are drawn out of the computer. And all,
Hold on a second. You're telling me he had something to do with this?
yeah, just pretty weird how that happens. Now, the connections they're kind of looking at are a little bit rough because Tipton is the one that's seen and kind of pretty much identified in the video by his voice. So they know that he was the one that bought the ticket, but they still don't know who the hell Robert Rhodes is. So they start looking into sort of what could be Robert Rhodes as far as who he was. They look back and actually found a connection where Tipton was the CEO of a company and Robert Rhodes was the COO of the company.
And this was one, not the multi-state lottery.
Yeah, this was prior to getting hired at the multi-state
lottery. This is to establish
lottery.
their relationship. Okay.
So, everything really starts to seem like these two could have been in cahoots. January 15th, Tipton's actually arrested for fraud. Rhodes was then brought in too on some lesser charges because they're trying to figure out what he actually, like if he was just sort of the fall guy for Tipton.
If they were just using his name to throw people off,
something like that. So as Tipton is on trial, he needs character witnesses, and this is just the definition of being a defense attorney because your job is just to throw enough shit at the wall and see if anything sticks.
You're just trying to cause doubt.
Yeah. So they bring up his brother Tommy as a character witness. Tommy, straight up guy, justice of the peace, part-time. So he holds...
They were hoping to use him as even more of a character witness.
So he comes in, he's talking about his brother, and when they show him the video, they ask him if it's Eddie. He says, couldn't be my brother. He couldn't be his brother because Eddie had bought 2 hot dogs and brought them up to pay for with the lottery ticket. He said, my brother doesn't eat hot dogs. That can't be him because he doesn't eat hot dogs.
That's like the defense?
Yeah.
It was the old hot dog defense.
The old hot dog defense. Now, unfortunately...
Was his rationale behind this like he's a vegetarian, he's vegan? They're like, no, he eats a shit ton of meat. He just stays away from hot dogs.
Yeah. Just a wild thing to say. So, of course, all the people that are following this case, all the journalists and everything in the room hear this, and it gets a laugh at everybody because, like, you're going to try to get some guy off of video proof by saying he doesn't eat hot dogs, and this guy bought hot dogs.
He's like, Your Honor, as shown back in Oscar Mayer versus Hines, 1862, the hot dog defense is sound.
Yeah, I don't think there was any hot dog precedents on the court records at that point.
We found a bratwurst precedents and a kielbasa precedents. We think we can maybe adapt this into a hot dog defense.
Yeah. So unfortunately for this stand-up man, this stand-up brother that he had, Tommy got enough of a laugh to where the journalists actually wrote down what he said and put it in articles. So this like picture of Tommy on the stand doing the hot dog defense gets spread out to everybody. Now, when that picture goes out, there was actually, I believe it was in Colorado. It might have actually been Texas again. But, no, it wasn't. It was, I think it was Oklahoma. It was one of these states that we'll bring up. But it sparks an agent who is in there when he sees the picture. He goes, oh, shit, that's Tommy. I investigated him for money laundering a few years ago, but we cleared him. I wonder if maybe he has a little bit of a connection to this. So, they go back and look at the investigation, and a gentleman named Robert Rhodes had cashed a winning lottery ticket in this state. And in turn doing that, when they paid him out in cash. It was a smaller one, and they gave him sequential $100 bills. So he let Rhodes keep a small portion of it and then took the rest of the money, knowing that these are in sequential bills.
It has to have it be laundered to go ahead and throw it off and everything.
So he goes to a fireworks dealer. But next best option, go to a fireworks dealer. Maybe he can launder your money.
Car wash. Like top 2.
Yeah, Breaking Bad style. Fireworks dealer feels like this is a little bit hairy. He goes ahead and reports it to the FBI. The FBI comes and talks to Tommy. Tommy says that he was trying to hide the money from his wife. They're like, good enough explanation. You don't really need to tell us anymore, so we'll drop that case. Well, there becomes even more of a connection with Rhodes and Tommy and Eddie in this little triangle of what's going on. So they had actually figured out that during the case, sort of the idea that happened that they presented to all three of these guys, and Eddie finally admits, like, yeah, I did this. The way that he said that he did it was he set it up for 3 specific dates. And
it was all a year apart from itself, wasn't it?
Yeah,
It was the same day the following year, 3 times, right? Or
when he confessed to rigging the lottery, he confessed to rigging the lottery in Iowa, Colorado, Wisconsin, Kansas, and Oklahoma. So this wasn't their first rodeo.
it was just the first time they got caught.
Yeah. And like you said, it was all around these certain days. It was 3 days a year that he would program this. So this certain amount of numbers would hit, like instead of the 200,000 possibilities, it broke it down to like 600,000.
Mm-hmm.
And then through another algorithm that he created on a separate computer, he could actually get it down to less numbers. And then
Wait, you said 200,000 to 600,000.
or to 600.
Oh, okay,
And then
gotcha.
from the 600, he could shrink it down even further. He always scheduled these days around holidays. So, like, there was one in November, there was one in May, and then I think there was one in September.
Mm-hmm.
So that way he could drive out of state to these other states to purchase these lottery tickets. Because if something goes wrong and they find out that it is a scam, he always has the claim, like, I wasn't around the computer when this happened, so how could I have done it?
Gotcha.
After the ticket thing goes through, he had convinced his superior that the computer that they were working off of with the algorithms was running too slow and it was spitting out numbers too slowly. So he actually got permission to upgrade the system and buy a new computer. Before he destroyed the computer, he filled it full of malware so they couldn't figure out his system that he had plugged into the computer. And
This guy's an evil fucking genius.
yeah, pretty elaborate system. He would call up Rhodes or he would call up his brother. He would feed them numbers if he wasn't or if he was out of state but not buying tickets. So there were more different looking people that were buying tickets. And it was just a really brilliant sort of plan. This is another thing.
You're sitting here just praising even the lotto criminals you're getting hard for.
It's kind of smart.
No, I'm not saying it. Yeah, I'm not saying it isn't.
So
But now all those people out there desperately trying to win the lottery and everything are even getting less of a chance to win.
I'm not trying to stand up for Eddie because he did just an awful thing here. This is sort of Eddie's one silver lining. So when they basically tell them this is how it's going to work, this is what you guys are going to be charged with, Eddie goes ahead and says, don't attach too much to my brother. I was the mastermind behind this. He has a family on the outside and I don't. So let me take his charges, give him a reduced sentence, if nothing at all. So as a part of that, Robert agreed. And
Oh my God, this is Friday Night Lights.
Is it?
This is Tim Riggins taking the heat for Billy Riggins because he has a family.
I only
When they
watched
get caught,
the movie. I never saw
it's
the
the
show.
show.
I never saw
the
the
show's
show.
even better. They get caught at Chop Shop.
Oh, okay.
It's a real Tim Riggins move.
Yeah, he steps up and takes one for Tommy. So through that, Rhodes is sentenced to 6 months of house arrest, $400,000 in restitution, so nowhere near, I think, what they would have got away with, because each one of these lotteries that they were winning, the jackpots were progressively getting higher and higher. So the $16 million was by far and away
He was
the
just
biggest.
he was getting a smaller cut because he was
Yeah.
just kind of like helping them get the tickets and stuff. Okay.
So he ends up getting that. Tommy got sentenced to 75 days in jail. 75 days.
That's 75 too much for me.
He was still a part of it.
No.
Oh,
Personally.
okay, for you, yeah.
Yeah, not for Tommy.
In that same month, June 2017 again, Eddie got sentenced to 25 years in prison. And between him and Tommy, they had to split $3 million in restitution. So they definitely, restitution was still heavy on Tommy, but 75 days, that's pretty good with comparing it to 25 years.
Yeah, but at the same time, how much money did they get away with? So the $3 million restitution. So Tommy technically could still have access to that money
If he
75
hit it the right way, because I'm sure they would have gone through
that's
the rest
true.
of their
Yeah,
accounts and everything.
that's true.
So
I'd like to imagine that they were able to seize the assets there.
Yeah, they had to have taken everything when they went to jail. Eddie was actually let out in July of 2022 on parole. So he served 5 years of a 25-year sentence.
Got a real fucking Hitler situation there.
But in his defense, if you are outside of prison, there is a chance that you can start paying back that $3 million in restitution.
Yeah, but he probably had $8 million or $3 million in assets that they could have just seized. Listen, don't.
I don't know. I'm just saying.
Listen, you can love the lottery without loving the people that ruined the lottery.
What I'm trying to say is this is a crime and it's still bad, but I would say that 25 years might be a tad excessive.
Okay.
And he is more of an asset on the outside than what prison would do to him for what he... Like, it wasn't a violent crime.
Okay.
It technically wasn't a victimless crime. It was actually a very victim-filled crime.
Mm-hmm.
But if everybody got their money back... I think that they only ended up sticking around. I think Hot Lotto closed down in like 2018 or 19, so they didn't live through this. So that was a casualty.
Yeah, there you go. You know what? I'm back against these guys. Hot Lotto should have lived. We have no Hot Lotto now. Great.
No, but yeah, it's just a wildly interesting case of the biggest lottery scam in the world. So no matter what it is, I mean, these things can still be rigged. They can still be fixed.
We went from discovering the origins of how they would elect senators in Greece and Athens to some guy ripping off the people.
Yeah,
Hot Lotto.
We went
all using a similar system.
Building our country.
Mm-hmm.
The roads that these people were driven on were paid through lottery earnings. Like, just a fun thing. But again, it can
lottery,
be taken...
not the crime.
Yeah, it can be taken too far. If you do have any problems with it, try addressing them. It's something that you're going to have to handle. You know, nobody can talk you into quitting a gambling addiction. You kind of have to be ready for it. You kind of have to take those steps yourself.
Are you like telling me this?
No.
You're looking right at me and be like, people got to figure this out themselves.
I'm just
You're
saying.
not talking to anybody into anything.
It is important. For as much as I've praised and dick sucked the lottery the entire time, it is something that's addictive and it is something that can ruin lives. So
I would love to win. I really enjoyed the crazy, and I know it's supposed to be this way, but the nice just bit of euphoria that you can just sit there and imagine, take yourself out of the day for a couple hours, but...
Yeah, it's probably not healthy, like we said in the beginning.
I also look at that as a way of just being a proper planner.
Mm-hmm.
If I'm presented with this unlikely situation, being prepared for unlikely situations, it's never a bad thing.
No. And unfortunately, some of those bad situations are just not winning that day.
That's true. All right, man. You got anything else?
Nope. We are good.
All right. Well, thanks again for joining us this week, and we'll catch you on the next one, guys.
Peace.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, thanks for joining us for another episode. If you like what you heard, hit that subscribe and like button. Follow us. If you didn't like what you heard, still hit that anyway, because we'll probably cover something in the future that you do like. Please follow us on our social media. Adam, hit them with it.
Our Instagram is historically high pod, historically high pod, and we are on Twitter at historically high. That's historically HI.
All right. And if you guys want to send in any feedback, suggestions, hit us up on those two, or you can even do it on Gmail. It's historicallyhighpodcast@gmail.com. Thanks again.
Peace.